Hey everybody, welcome to today's video. As always, it is so awesome to see you. Thanks so much for stopping by. Today's video is brought to you by an older fart who wants to take a stroll down memory lane and reminisce about his first original band, which was way back in the mid to early 1990s. So this is for anyone who would dare hear the tale. Or who may be interested in some music scene history of Dallas around that time frame. I graduated from college in 1991 from Wichita State University. And I had all the hopes and dreams of being a rock star. And I knew the next logical step was going to be moving to a much larger city for more opportunity, more exposure. I had been to Dallas before and I liked it, and my cousin and his wife lived down there. So it definitely made sense that that would be a good move. And so I made the journey. Big shout out to JD and Beth for helping me back then and along the way. It's still very much appreciated. The first goal was to start just scouring the want ads and in search of a band. And I placed ads myself. I auditioned for quite a few folks. I wasn't exactly sure what I was looking for. I guess my main criteria at the time were two things. One is that I needed to like the music, and I needed to get a good feel about the musicians in the band. At the time, I had to weed through a lot of folks who wanted to be the next Nirvana, Soundgarden, and Pearl Jam. Nothing against them, but that was definitely not for me. I eventually ran into a band called Nickel Scales, who had just lost their drummer. They gave me a 3-song demo, and I really liked the music a lot. It was really hard to pigeonhole. A lot of variety in those 3 songs, even though it wasn't so out there still was kind of a common thread. I guess if I had to label it, I would say it was power pop. And I went ahead and auditioned, and we had a good time. I really enjoyed their music. They liked my drumming. It seemed to be a very good fit, and we got along personally, which of course is hugely important in a band setting. So, I left feeling pretty good that evening. As I was loading up my stuff, about to head out, the lead singer came out, and he shared with me that he was about to leave the band. The other guys didn't know it yet, but he wanted to tell me just out of respect, and I appreciated that, just on the chance that he wanted me to know what I would be getting into if I joined up. So anyways, I made the decision that I was going to stick around. And the guys, when they called and to let me know about this, they were very concerned that I was going to get spooked, but I assured them that I was going to stick around and that we would find a lead singer. And I think they appreciated that. So the first goal that we had was for me to get more acclimated with the rest of the songs, to make some adjustments or whatever, and solidify things before we started auditioning singers. And then that happened. And we didn't really have to do too many of those, thankfully. We did find one singer who I would describe as rather fierce, who had a great voice and a big personality and definitely was a go-getter. One of the things that we started to notice, though, after bringing him aboard was with a new drummer and a new singer, and having revamped some of the stuff, it was brought up that probably would be wise to change the name of the band. And so we sat around one night and tried to, piece something together for a name. Given how varied the music selection was, we thought about the name Babble. And that stuck. And then we also came up with the name Zoo. And that one was pretty good, but neither one of them were good enough on their own. And I can't remember who it was, but somebody made the decision, well, why don't we put it together? And thus Babble Zoo was born. If I remember correctly, our very first gig was one afternoon at a club in the midst of one of Dallas's art festivals. And it was a blast. We had a great time with that. From that point on, it was just a matter of playing whenever and wherever we could in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We went even so far as to play a laundromat. It was actually kind of a cool setup. This laundromat operated also as a bar. People could come and have a drink. They could watch the band while they were doing their laundry. One of the things that we noted, though, because it was in a rather sketchy side of town, was the prostitution ring that was happening while we were playing. We'd see these guys coming in dressed to the nines, and all of a sudden they'd have a beer or whatever, talking with a lady, and next thing you know, they would leave, and then they would come back after a little bit, and was like, oh, okay, so maybe we shouldn't do this. We also focused on the college crowd. We would play the area over by SMU. We definitely played in Denton near the University of North Texas, and we also played a few gigs in Fort Worth near TCU. Concurrently, we also tried to hit Deep Ellum's music scene. Deep Ellum is an arts district in Dallas. It's still around, but back in the early and mid-90s, it was really popular. It was a multi-block area full of bars, clubs, and restaurants and shops. And they would block it off on weekends, and people could go and walk the streets and do all that. And it really was where everything was happening. This is where bands like the Toadies, Tripping Daisy, Reverend Horton Heat, the Nixons, I know we opened for them a time or two, and also Better Than Ezra. This is where you would see these type of bands playing. And I distinctly remember the two main premier clubs that seemed to be in Deep Ellum were Trees and Club Dada. And I remember walking the street one day and seeing at Trees, there was this line of people around the block to get in to see this new band. And I looked, and they had a bus, and the bus said Green Day. Well, they had just released Dookie at that point. So their breakthrough album, and yeah, you could tell people were really pumped about seeing them. Babble Zoo was overjoyed when we finally got our first gig at Club Dada. And if I remember right, it was like on a Tuesday night, and oh yeah, we were headlining, but it was like starting to play at midnight. Thankfully, one of my bandmates had a corporate gig at the time, and a lot of his co-workers were our age, so they were young and adventuresome and didn't mind being out that late on a weekday. And this impressed Club Dada, that we could bring this many people out on a weekday. So they immediately took a liking to us, and that really kind of became our home for a number of gigs in our tenure. So gigging all over the place, well, we eventually ended up saving up enough money to release our first 6-song EP, which was called Drop, and we released it only in cassette format. We also sold other kinds of merchandise as well, like t-shirts and bumper stickers and buttons, if I recall. The main thing here is that we were starting to develop a following, and it was about 94 or so when we were headlining on the weekends at Club Dada. We were smart about it though, and we always opted, even though we were headlining, we always opted for the 10 o'clock time slot, because it was definitely much harder to bring people out at midnight than it was to bring people out at 10. And that was just the perfect time. So that helped us to rise in popularity as well. But we also headlined at Trees and Poor David's Pub too, which wasn't in Deep Ellum. It was on Lower Greenville, but it was definitely a premier place to play here in town. In 1994, we recorded our first full-length album, which was entitled Mississippi Man, and we only released it on CD format. This is when Babble Zoo was at its peak. We had a massive CD release party here in town, packed the joint at Club Dada, of course, and we were also talking to some independent labels. We were being interviewed for television, a local station, and also, some of our songs were actually being played on the local Dallas radio stations. It was at this point where we had enough popularity that the band had to sit down and really discuss where we were going to go. And it was suggested that we just go for it. We get into a van and we just tour the country and win everybody over in the United States like we did the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And that was a really tough discussion. It was a tough decision, mainly because most of us had bills to pay, we had jobs, and it was very difficult to see how that would work out logistically and logically. So we opted not to do that. I don't know though, in hindsight and looking back, it was absolutely the right move to do in order to get more exposure, to get more opportunity to play and to build our following. But man, that was tough back then. And hindsight is always 20/20. After about 2 to 3 years though, having spent so much time with one another, it was a pretty intense period with all of the gigging and recording and financial stuff and just trying to figure out what we were going to do. Well, tensions started to rear their ugly heads in the band. Had a couple of guys that couldn't get along much anymore. We had some egos get in the way. And perhaps the proverbial nail in the coffin was when our lead singer, who acted on the side, announced that he had got a part in the movie Twister, of all things, and was going to be up in Oklahoma for about 6 months doing the movie shoot. And I think given all of the things that we were trying to work through at that point, him being gone, the writing was on the wall that Babble Zoo was going to be done. And it was devastating for me. That was a really hard period of my life when that was happening. And, much like, having a broken heart in a relationship. But looking back, it was a great run. And we took it about as far as we could on a local level. And that was a wonderful time frame in my life that was filled with lots of good music, the people that we met, the gigs that we shared, and also, I can say this now, the lessons that I learned back then, personally and musically, were all very valuable. I actually still keep in touch with a couple of the guys from the band. There was a point where I was keeping in touch with all of them, but 2 of them kind of fell off the face of the earth, and I hope that they are doing well, because I think fondly about all 4 of them, Travis, Dino, and Keith, and Scott. I hope that you all are doing well. As for the rest of you, if you act now, you can go to the eBay site, and there you will see that there are at least 2 to 3 Babble Zoo CDs, Mississippi Man, that are for sale. Now, these aren't from me. These are from other people who evidently had enough of Babble Zoo and are trying to make some money. But if you would like to own a piece of mid-90s deep Ellum era bands, then go snag them. And if you do, let me know what you think in the comments below. All right, thanks for indulging this older farts stroll down memory lane. Until the next video, light and love to you all. Take care now. Bye.